Guys, it's Herb, and today we're going to talk about embedding a chart inside the Lianja application. There are a lot of different ways to do this. I'm just going to show you the one that I like to do. So here I've gone on to Google Docs. We're looking at a line chart. I've never used this chart before. It doesn't really matter. It'll still work. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the code for this chart. Okay, so pretty straightforward. As you can see, we have really 4 columns of data. We've got the title for that data, right? And we're creating a variable for that data, so we know that's the data we're going to use inside this function. If you look at this, it's pretty straightforward. You've got options that we're going to pass to it in this draw method, and you've got the type of chart and the width and the height. Pretty straightforward. All right, let's copy this to a clipboard. All right, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to add all this data into a table that I already have. Okay, so I've added that. Let's list databases. All right, chart demo. That's the database I created. So let's open that database. If I could type properly, it'd be great. Open database chart demo. Great. And let's list the tables in chart demo. And the one I have is called line chart. So let's get this table. Use line chart in 0 current. So now we have that. Let's browse it. Okay, so here's our four fields. We got 2004 to 2007, and we have the sales and expenses just like we saw inside the web app. All right, so we have that data. Now, what I want to do is I want to take that page that we copied over here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to save it as an Rsp page. So let me pause that a second. Actually, let's first create. We have the data, so let's create the app. All right, so I'm going to go to apps, and I'm going to create my new app. I'm going to call it line chart 1. Okay, it doesn't matter what we have. We have the chart demo as our database. Let's go in there. Let's click done. All right, so now we have our application. So here I'm going to create an Rsp page. I'm going to copy that. I copied what I did. I'm just going to paste it into an Rsp page. So let me do that. Hold on a second. Oh, you can just watch me do it. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do File, New File, and we're going to call it line chart 1.rsp. Save it as all files as RSP. Okay, so now this is our new Rsp page. I'm going to get rid of all this up until doctype HTML, and hopefully I can paste what I copied. Good. All right, I'm going to save this page. Now I'm also going to save it to the cloud server. So we're going to do a file save as, and here we're going to go to we go to Lianja, we'll go to cloud server, we'll go to tenants, public www root, and let me save that. Line chart 1.rsp, and I saved it. Okay, now if I go to my browser, let me type that in. We'll type in localhost 8001 and slash line chart 1.rsp. There we go. And let's see. Okay, great. So we know that this file can now be used in an Rsp page, no problem. Well, let's go back to our application, or even here, it doesn't really matter. Let's do it right here, and let's start adding our data in there. Okay. So let's go back into Lianja, into our file, and here now we're going to start putting in our own code. Okay, so I like to do this in 2 steps. First thing I want to do is make sure that the Rsp page is being picked up properly and that I'm writing out the data I want. So you'll see I commented out the data over here. Actually, I could just really delete it. And here, what I'm doing is this text is raw. We could even say that it's raw, but it's fine right now. And everything that we put inside these brackets, because this is a language type of VFP, it's going to run. So we're actually going to print this data out. So we're going to save that. Okay, and we're going to go back up to our page, which I've just done a minute ago, and I'm going to reload it. So the data is all there, and if we look at the page, if we look at the body, yeah, everything is written properly. Okay, and all our data is going to be in there as we would expect it to be. All right, now what we have to do is we need to write that data out from the table. So I'm going to, the way I like to do this, I'm going to actually deploy the database up to the cloud server. So I'm going to do a quick deployment so I can test it up there. So let's do that. Let's go to, we'll close this for a minute. We'll go to deploy. I know this isn't the standard way of doing things. This is kind of the way I like to do it. And we're going to move the database of chart demo. We're going to come here, we're going to refresh that, bring up our files to deploy, and we're going to deploy chart demo. Okay, deployment completed successfully. So now what we can do is we can come back to our Lianja, go back to our app, line chart 1. We could open up let's open our file. Oops, sorry. Easier just to come over here, open our Rsp Page. All right. Let me pause for a second. No, actually, this is not the one I'm working with. I'm working with the one up in the cloud server, so I will go to open file. No, okay, so we'll do open file. And www, that's where I want to go. And we'll go to Rsp Pages. If I can find them. And line chart 1. Okay, this is the file that I want to work with. Now what I want to do is actually bring in and open the database. All right, somehow I opened the wrong file. Now I have the right file. All right, so let's open a database. Okay, first thing I want to do is just put a use statement in there, make sure it opens the table that I want without getting an error. So we'll save that. We'll go back up to our web page and we will refresh it. Okay, great. So it's picking up the table. Now I'm going to put a little loop in here to finish the code. I'll pause it and put that in there. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken out the hard-coded section, and now I'm going to replace it. So here, what I do is I open that table that we had before. I go to the top, I scan it, right? And what I do is I say, hey, if the record number is not equal to the record count, then what you do is you print out the year, plus the sales, plus expenses, and I add the comma, right? In JavaScript, it's very important that you have to have the comma to separate each one of these values in the array. So if they're the same, great. Then we save that. We come back up here and we refresh and it's working. So now this is data driven. So if we go ahead and change the data that's in a table, and you know what, let's do that. I'm going to actually go ahead and change the table, change the data, add more, and we can see the difference. So let's come back to our console here. All right, let's add some more rows in here. Let's insert into line chart values. I guess we'll say maybe 2008, and we'll put I don't know, 550, 720. I have no idea what these numbers mean. Oh, it's not open. Okay. Okay, let's open the database. Chart demo. Use line chart in 0. Okay, let's do that now. And let's put in 2009. I have no idea what these numbers mean. 880 and 450. Let's have a look at our data. Okay, we got more values in there. All right, let's go back to the app. Let's close it up and let's deploy the same table. Charts table. Okay, it was successful. Now what I would expect is to see some different values in this chart because we just added more data in there. Yeah, and there you go. So now it's different. So this is exactly what you do. So now all I have to do now is plug it in. But the important part is looking about how we look at the JavaScript file, how we add our data in there. So now we have a simple way. We could do this with any report that's out there, anything. All right. So now we're gonna add it to our application. I'm gonna bring back up the application. I'm actually going to resave this file that I had, the file that I was working with. Projects, apps. I'm going to open the file. Now this is a backwards way to do it, the way that I'm doing it, right? Because I'm actually running it first in my up in the cloud server, and then I'm putting it into my application. But that's just the way I like to do it. Line chart 1.rsp. I opened up over here. Now we're going to save this as, and we're going to put it back into the application that we had. So that was under C, Lianja, apps, and this one was called line chart 1 was the name of the app. So let's find that. Oh, date modified would do that for me. Line chart 1, and we're going to save this as line chart 1.rsp. Save. Yes. Okay. So now, if I come back into my application, and I'm going to go back, let me close this up and actually open the application. I know it's a little bit disjointed, but sometimes that's how things work. Here what we can do is we can just come to the page. We can come to right sidebar of the page, show right sidebar. Let's make that width a little higher. Let's do 350. All right. Let's go down to content gadget 1. And we'll just call this line chart. That's called line chart. And in the URL, we could just put the name of our file. So line chart 1.rsp. And that's going to show up there. Now, obviously, the size isn't right, so we got to play with the size here, and we'll do that in a second. Let's make this height a little bigger. 350. Whoop, I did something wrong. Let me pause and troubleshoot and see what I did. Ah, you see that? It's telling me it's already open. You see Lianja line chart. So I've got to change that. So let me go fix that. Okay, so I open this up, and we could use a little, an if not used statement. If not used, line chart. There we go. Use it in 0. Okay, and we'll just put an end if over here. And really I should format this and clean it up a little bit more, but that's fine right now. Okay, so let's save this. Let's come back. Let's go back into our right sidebar. We'll open the App Inspector. We'll come back here to the page. We'll come back to our right sidebar. We're going to show the right sidebar. Caption is line chart, and the URL is line chart 1.rsp. And we'll make that a little bigger. Height will be 350, and let's make this width of 450 for the fun of it, so we can see that. All right, now I've got to change the options here because it's way too big. So let's go back into the Rsp page and fix that up. Let's come over here, and first thing I'm going to try to do is make the div the right size. If the div is not the right size, then what I'll do is I'll set an option for the chart. Let's come back over here and refresh it. as soon as you take like one part of the word away, it'll come back, and there you go. So now you can resize it to, however you think it is. But the bottom line is you can mix and match your VFP code with the JavaScript code by printing out the JavaScript to build that file, just like you can do in like all different type of languages. But using it in Lianja is very, very simple and very strong and very powerful. So I hope that helped. All right, Herb.